All right, before we dive in, just a quick and crucial reminder. This is all for educational purposes. This is not financial advice. Always do your own research. A major market crash is the ultimate stress test for any protocol. And this past weekend, we got to see one play out in real time. So today, we're going way beyond just looking at a price chart. We're going to do a deep, data-driven case study to answer one simple question. Is PLAZM's anti-fragile design just a buzzword, or is it actually proven by the on-chain data? So here's our game plan. First, we're going to define what anti-fragile even means. Then, we'll dig right into the hard data from the weekend, how the burn sped up, how the community showed its conviction, and how the protocol's own defense systems kicked in. And finally, we'll pull it all together for the final scorecard and see if the theory really held up under fire. Okay, so let's start with the core concept. Most people think that in a crash, the only goal is to, just survive. But what if a system could do more than that? What if it could actually get stronger from all that chaos and volatility? And that's where this incredible idea comes in. Anti-fragile. It's a property where a system doesn't just resist a shock, it actively benefits from it. It's about seeing volatility not as a danger, but as literal fuel for growth. This slide lays it out perfectly. A fragile system, right? That's like glass. Under pressure, it just shatters. A resilient system is more like rubber. It gets hit, it bends, but it bounces right back to where it started. But an anti-fragile system, that's something else entirely. It's like a muscle. When you put it under stress, it actually rebuilds itself stronger than it was before. That is the design philosophy we are putting to the test today. All right, enough theory. Let's see this in action, starting with the very first key mechanism, the burn effect. We're going to look at the theory, then the actual data from the crash, and see what it proves. So, the theory here is simple, but it's really powerful. When the price of the yield token, eShare, goes down, the protocol's burn mechanism actually gets a huge boost. Why? Because every single dollar of yield can suddenly buy back and destroy more PLAZM tokens from the market. So instead of the whole system grinding to a halt in a crash, the supply destruction should actually speed up. And guess what? The data shows this theory played out perfectly. The numbers from the weekend are just undeniable. Burn efficiency shot up by almost 10%. During the crash, an extra 60,000 tokens were permanently wiped from the supply, pushing us past that huge 16% milestone. The system didn't just keep working, it worked harder. So here's the key takeaway for this part. The market stress was literally fuel for the fire. The protocol used the downturn to accelerate its supply destruction. This is not a theory anymore, people. This is the first piece of hard on-chain proof that this anti-fragile design is the real deal. Okay, next up, let's look at how the people and the protocol itself reacted to the pressure. What did investors actually do, and how did the Treasury use the storm to its advantage? Now, this is where it gets fascinating, because it's the total opposite of what you'd normally expect. In a crash, you'd think fear would just take over, right? But the data shows what I like to call a conviction paradox. On one hand, you have the psychology of long-term holders who see lower prices as an opportunity, not a threat. They added another 80,000 PLSM to their staked positions. And on the other hand, the protocol itself acted with that same logic, using its yield to stack 7.5 more ETH, buying a core asset while it was on sale. And that's really the heart of it here. This isn't about feelings or just talk. This is conviction that you can actually measure by looking at transactions on the blockchain. The data is telling us that the holder base sees these downturns not as a threat, but as a strategic moment to strengthen their position. So now let's talk about the protocol's immune system. What happened when its automated defenses detected that major market stress? The protocol reacted exactly as it was designed to. First, the buyback and burn mechanism, the BBB, it doubled its rate to 10%. That creates aggressive, automatic buy pressure to support the price. At the exact same time, because of all that increased staking we just saw, the liquid sellable supply actually shrank by 30,000 tokens. So you've got this two-pronged defense, more automated buying and less supply available to be sold. That is the defense system kicking into high gear. Okay, so we've looked at how all the individual pieces work. Now, let's put it all together and check out the final scorecard. This is the complete data verdict from the weekend's massive stress test. Just look at this scorecard. 8 out of 8. Every single metric that points to anti-fragile behavior improved. Burns accelerated, staking increased, the vault engine grew, the vault accumulated more ETH, the defense system was elevated, liquid supply compressed, share creation continued, And incredibly, the price actually outperformed the rest of the market. It's a perfect score.
And that brings us to our final conclusion. We started this whole thing with a theory, and now, well, now we have the proof, right there in the data.
The result is crystal clear. The core thesis that PLAZM is designed to get stronger under stress is no longer just some idea in a white paper. It has been tested under fire, and the on-chain data completely validates the design.
So what's the ultimate takeaway here? Anti-fragile isn't just a marketing slogan. It's a real, observable design philosophy. This weekend, that philosophy was put to the test. Burns accelerated, staking surged, the vault accumulated, supply compressed, 8 out of 8 metrics improved. The theory became data. The design became proof. And you know what? The next crash will follow the same pattern, because that's how anti-fragile systems work, by design. And now, proven by data.
Hey, thanks for joining this data deep dive. And one more time, for the record, this content is strictly for educational purposes. It is not financial advice, and you should always do your own thorough research before making any decisions.